and welcome to our morning edition of Arirang News. We begin with these stories making the headlines at this hour. The United States has urged 5 allies, including South Korea, to send warships to help reopen the Strait of Hormuz. Seoul is responding with caution, saying it'll closely communicate with the U.S. while monitoring the situation in the Middle East. More than 200 nationals stranded in the Middle East due to flight disruptions have returned home on a military aircraft. South Korea's first airlift evacuation using a military plane of the current conflict. Netflix animated hit KPop Demon Hunters has won the Oscar for Best Animated Feature at this year's Academy Awards. U.S. President Donald Trump has called on South Korea and 4 other nations to send ships to the Strait of Hormuz to secure vital oil routes. Seoul is responding with caution, stating it'll carefully review the request while monitoring the volatile situation in the Middle East. Our Park Jun-an starts us off.
U.S. President Donald Trump has called on South Korea and 4 other nations, China, France, Japan, and the United Kingdom, to send ships to the Strait of Hormuz. Trump made the comment in a social media post on Saturday, with the appeal targeting countries heavily dependent on oil passing through the strait, which carries about 20% of the world's oil. South Korea's government gave a cautious response, with the Blue House saying it is closely communicating with the United States and will carefully review and judge the matter. Officials also noted that the safety of international sea lanes and freedom of navigation serve the interests of all nations. They added that Seoul is closely monitoring the situation in the Middle East and the responses of other countries while considering comprehensive measures to protect Korean nationals and secure energy transport routes. 4 other countries have also shown similarly reserved reactions. Japan said it will make its own independent decision and is not planning any immediate naval deployment. France indicated its ships will remain in a defensive posture in the eastern Mediterranean. The United Kingdom said it is discussing various support options with allies, including possible mine detection equipment, but has not committed to sending warships. China avoided giving a direct answer, only calling for an immediate end to hostilities. U.S. Energy Secretary Chris Wright said it is quite logical to have a broad coalition of the nations of the world work to reopen the Strait of Hormuz. He also said the war with Iran will certainly end in the next few weeks. With the U.S. previously describing South Korea as a model ally, Seoul may have some difficult decisions to make. Park Jun-an, Arirang News.
The International Energy Agency said oil from an unprecedented stockpile release will be made available immediately in Asia and Oceania. The IEA's announcement on Sunday comes after it said last week that its 32 member countries will make more than 400 million barrels available, comprising 72% crude oil and 28% oil products, to ease the global oil shock caused by the ongoing Middle East war. Stocks for the Americas and Europe will be released from late March. IEA Executive Director Fatih Birol said the measure would bring unprecedented additional volumes of oil to the market from March 16th onward. However, he stressed that the reopening of the Strait of Hormuz remains critical for the stable flow of oil. And South Korea has carried out its first military airlift evacuation since the U.S. and Israel's attack on Iran last month, bringing home more than 200 nationals stranded by flight disruptions. Our Lee Seung-jae has more.
A South Korean military transport aircraft carrying evacuees from the Middle East arrived in Seoul on Sunday evening, marking the first airlift evacuation using a military plane since the Middle East conflict escalated last month. A KC-330 Cygnus multi-role aerial tanker landed at Seoul Air Base in Seongnam, just south of the capital at 5:59 p.m., bringing home 204 South Korean nationals and 7 foreign citizens from Saudi Arabia.
Now that we've made it out, I think we'll be able to stay safe. I just hope the war ends soon.
The flight was very comfortable and all of the crew members were extremely professional. They were very helpful for us, yeah. We were originally in Kuwait, so every night that we could hear missiles, and the Korean embassy helped us with a bus to get into Riyadh, in Saudi Arabia, and then they arranged for this flight. So we're very grateful to the Korean government and everybody at the Korean embassy in Kuwait.
The evacuation mission, codenamed Desert Shine, was launched as thousands of South Koreans remained stranded across the Middle East due to widespread flight disruptions amid the expanding war between U.S.-Israeli forces and Iran. President Lee Jae-myung on Sunday expressed gratitude to government officials and personnel who successfully carried out the operation. In a post on X, Lee said those who had been isolated by the deteriorating security situation returned home safely aboard the military aircraft. He thanked all those who worked around the clock under difficult conditions to ensure the mission's success, calling the evacuation a meaningful achievement made possible through whole-of-government cooperation. The president noted that the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, the Ministry of National Defense, the Joint Chiefs of Staff, and the Air Force took part in the effort. South Korean diplomatic missions in Saudi Arabia, Bahrain, Kuwait, and Lebanon also played key roles, alongside the government's Joint Rapid Response Team and the National Police Agency. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
So as Iran continues to block a critical oil transit point with attacks and threats, the United States is now calling on its allies to send warships to the Strait of Hormuz. For more on this, we're joined today by Professor Hassan Khan, visiting professor at Hankuk University of Foreign Studies. Thanks for coming on today, Professor Khan.
Good morning.
So Trump has, called on South Korea and other countries to send warships to protect the Strait of Hormuz. And it also bombed an island that's a vital Iranian oil hub. How might this war play out from here? Could this ignite an energy war that further inflames global oil markets?
Yes, in fact, that is actually plausible scenarios. The immediate military contest is no longer is about Israel or the United States strikes on Iran or retaliation from Iran on their assets. It is just increasingly about sea lanes in Hormuz and oil terminals in the area and ports and oil hubs, and it affects the international export capacity of energy from the area. As we know, that Trump has called for allies warships and that he wants coalition efforts to reopen the Strait of Hormuz. But as for now, we don't have any clear confirmation from these countries. We could see that Korea also has not given a clear answer to that, and they said we are reviewing the request. This actually shows us that Trump's desperate call for asking for a coalition to help, because in the beginning of this war, he said that when Britain tried to propose to help in this war, he refused, and he said Britain wants to join already one war. So, but now he's calling himself for a coalition. So we can say this is a hybrid war of pressure. United States and Israel on Iran, but Iranian also retaliate through missiles, drones, and proxy wars in the area. So yes, this could absolutely become an energy war. The conflict has already widened around the Middle East by more than, and we could see that the reduction of oil import from the area by almost 7 million barrels per day. And we could see all other countries are trying to release or planning to release their oil reserves. So yeah, it's a widening.
Right, and Iran's new supreme leader says they'll continue to block the Strait of Hormuz, and Iran's armed forces also says it would respond to any attack on its oil and gas infrastructure with reciprocal attacks on Gulf allies in the region. How do you think Iran is planning to play out this war?
We can see clearly that Iran wants to impose the costs on the U.S., Israel, and also their allies in the region. And this triggered immediate, but not with the amount that triggers immediate retaliation that would end the Iranian regime. So first, they are using this in several steps. They're doing that strategy in several steps. So first of all, Iran is using Strait of Hormuz, which is very vital to oil energy for the whole world, and Tehran enormous coercive power, even if it cannot defeat the United States in direct fight, they are imposing this kind of high cost on the United States, on the allies, on the whole world. Second, Iran is threatening also reciprocal attacks on the Gulf countries, which they accuse of helping the United States or initiating the strikes from these countries. We are already seeing warning signals like Iran threatening UAE ports like Fujairah, and of course the closure of Hormuz. Even if it's partially closed, it's a signal to the whole world that if it's closed, they cannot do anything about it. And Iran has all the capacity to close it. Until now, they are using just live fire for like missiles and the drones. But if they decide to use mines, it will take longer to clear these mines. It will take months to do that. So it will affect the energy market all over the world for a very long time. Third, Iran also is trying to split the coalition against it. Iran is accusing Gulf states of helping U.S. attack, and they are at the time they are asking for a complete end for this war. They are also talking about mediation, so they are using both sides, like threatening and political maneuvers.
Right, and Trump's actually questioning whether Iran's new supreme leader is actually even alive after the U.S. Defense Secretary said he's wounded and likely disfigured. And this kind of fueled speculation about the health of Mojtaba Khamenei. What do we know about him?
Mojtaba Khamenei is a very important figure. We know what we know about him, that he is the new elected supreme leader of Iran after the death of his father Ali Khamenei, and we know that he's a hardline cleric with influence inside Iran's security forces, especially the Revolutionary Guard, the RGC, and he has been seen as a likely successor to his father, although hereditary succession is a very sensitive issue in the Islamic Republic, but we could see that he represents continuity, not moderation. So what we can think about it, that he's going to continue this security state, and we cannot expect like change in the political attitude in Iran. So his elevation suggests that at least for now the war is strengthening the security state rather than weakening it. And on his health, we don't know about that yet. It's unclear because we have heard the reports from the U.S. Defense Secretary Hexis that said that Mojtaba might be injured and he's actually maybe disfigured. And we haven't seen Mojtaba since his elevation to power yet, but we have his talks that he's going to continue the fight against the United States, and he will ask for compensation for the damage they have done. But we haven't seen that he's talking in person yet. So Mojtaba Khamenei looks less like a reformer and is a traditional figure and more a face of a wartime hardliner that leads the security state and continue.
I see. And you talked about the possibility of this war widening. The U.S. embassy in Baghdad was actually attacked, and the U.S. is now telling all American citizens to leave Iraq immediately. So is this war spreading to other Middle Eastern countries?
Yes, we can say that for certainty. It's actually, in practice, it's actually is done. So the key question now is not, is it spreading or not? If the key question should be how far is spreading and how fast is spreading. Like we could see Iraq is the clearest case about that. Missile struck the U.S. embassy in Baghdad, and the United States called for its citizens to go out of Iraq immediately. So Iran has fired missiles and drones to many monarchies in the Middle East, like basically UAE, Bahrain, and Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, Qatar. and even Oman. While Gulf states have been intercepting most of these projectiles, but to minimize the damage, still Iran says that it's not attacking these countries; it's attacking only the United States assets in these countries. So the conflict is no longer confined between Iran, Israel, and the U.S. It's widening to a whole bunch of countries in the area. Although everybody is trying to restrain themselves and try to take it easy with that, we can see this is no longer just a U.S.-Israeli war with Iran. It is becoming a wider regional conflict and centered on Hormuz, the Strait of Hormuz, and Gulf infrastructure, whether it's oil or other economic infrastructure, and the global energy system as a whole.
Right. We'll have to see how that goes. All right, Professor Khan, thank you so much for your time and insight today. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
President Lee Jae-myung has offered an official government apology to the families of victims of the March 15 democracy movement.
대한민국을 대표하는 대통령으로서 국가 권력에 의해 큰 아픔을 겪으신 3.15 의거 희생자 유가족분들께 진심 어린 사과와 위로의 말씀을 드립니다.
Speaking at an event on Sunday to commemorate the 66th anniversary of the movement, President Lee vowed to put greater efforts into identifying those who participated in the democratic movement and ensure they receive proper recognition. He added that the spirit set a model in a time of crisis, citing the 2024 protests that resisted brief martial law as an example. On March 15, 1960, protests broke out in the southeastern city of Busan against election fraud under then-President Lee Seung-man, which resulted in a brutal crackdown on civilians. The incident triggered a nationwide demonstration in April and led to the ouster of the authoritarian government. The Netflix hit animated film KPop Demon Hunters has won the Oscar for Best Animated Feature. The win at the 98th Academy Awards in Los Angeles on Sunday is a first win for director Maggie Kang, who said the award was for Korea and for Koreans everywhere. K-pop Demon Hunters beat strong competitors including Zootopia 2 and Elio to take the top animation honor. It has been Netflix's most watched film following its 2025 debut, surpassing 500 million views on the platform. The song Golden from film's soundtrack is also up for Best Original Song. And in sports, South Korea's para-cross-country skier Kim Yoon-ji added another historic achievement at the 2026 Winter Paralympics on Sunday, winning the women's 20-kilometer interval start race. Kim crossed the finish line in 58 minutes and 23.3 seconds to secure her fifth medal of the Games, setting a new national record for the most medals won by a South Korean athlete at a single Olympics, including the Summer, Winter, and Paralympic Games. Earlier in the competition, Kim became the first South Korean woman to win a gold medal at the Winter Paralympics after taking the women's individual sitting title in the para-biathlon. She has also collected 3 silver medals along with her 2 top podium finishes. With the decline of rural populations, elementary schools across the countryside have been shutting down, and it's only a matter of time before villages begin to fade away. But recently, a rural study program has brought new hope as students from big cities transfer to rural schools. Our Cho Young-in has a story.
The day at this rural elementary school in Namwon City, Jeollabuk-do Province, begins with movement and laughter. Instead of going to private academies, these children rush to the gym for physical activities. Here, students enjoy skating and skateboarding and escape from academic stress.
All of us really enjoy going outside and inline skating, or riding boards or bikes.
The rural study program in Jeollabuk-do province targets small elementary schools with between 10 and 60 students and offers up to 500,000 won per month in financial support for families moving to the countryside. The number of students at this school rose from 24 to 66 this year. However, limited facilities and housing make it difficult to accept more students who wish to join the program.
Due to limited housing, we were only able to host 4 families, 12 students, which we feel a bit regretful about. Our school will continue to offer programs that keep our students satisfied and meet parents' expectations. We will keep making efforts to maintain an appropriate number of students.
Beyond the classroom, the students explore the village itself, where they are encouraged to connect with the wider community.
These elementary school students are visiting the Rural Ministry Center, where they'll meet with community leaders and residents and learn about the village as part of the curriculum.
Along the way, they stop to observe nature and learn about living organisms, even watching the principal move a beehive from a building. Students also show curiosity about rural life, asking questions and talking with official workers and even the city mayor. After school, we followed 2 children whose family came from Seoul to join the rural study program this semester. For now, they are staying at a village community center as permanent housing has not yet been arranged.
We initially applied for a 2-year stay, but we're also considering continuing through middle and high school. In Seoul, we hardly knew who lived next door, but here, the residents feel like one big family.
For many families, the rural study program is more than a temporary experience. It is a chance to rethink what education and community can look like. 조영은, Arirang News, Namwon.
Good morning, I'm Chu Ji-hyun, and this is The World Now. Israeli officials on Sunday announced plans for direct talks with Lebanon to secure a permanent ceasefire that would lead to Hezbollah being disarmed. This follows 2 weeks of renewed fighting between Israel and Hezbollah. In that time, more than 800 people have been killed in Lebanon and hundreds of thousands have been displaced. While Beirut is currently forming a delegation, Lebanese officials are seeking confirmation that Israel will abide by a full ceasefire to facilitate negotiations. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu on Sunday released a video of himself at a Jerusalem cafe to debunk rumors of his death aired by Iranian state. The footage features Netanyahu talking with an aide while using humor and a pun about his love for coffee to dismiss the rumors. Reuters confirmed the video's location and timing. It is a rare public outing for the Israeli leader since the start of the war on February 28th. Strict emergency protocols remain in effect across Israel, banning public gatherings and keeping the majority of the population at home. The Republic of Congo held a presidential election on Sunday, widely expected to grant 82-year-old Denis Sassou Nguesso a 5th consecutive term in power. The incumbent faces 6 challengers in the presidential race. During the election, authorities restricted traffic in the capital, Brazzaville, and shut down the internet. Despite holding vast oil reserves, the Republic of Congo has extreme youth unemployment and massive international debt. Official results of the election will arrive within the next 14 days. Formula One and the FIA on Sunday officially announced the cancellation of the Bahrain Grand Prix and the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix due to security risks from the Iran war. Both host nations suffered strikes during the recent regional conflict, prompting officials to prioritize the safety of the racing community. Announcing the decision ahead of the Chinese Grand Prix in Shanghai, F1 confirmed it would not seek replacement venues for the 2 April slots. This leaves a 5-week gap in the World Championship schedule until the Miami race in May. F1 CEO Stefano Domenicali described the move as a necessary precaution given the volatile situation in the Middle East.
After a chilly start, temperatures will climb rapidly this afternoon. In fact, some areas could see a difference of more than 15 degrees Celsius between morning and afternoon, so dressing in layers would be a great idea. But again, the air quality is not looking great today. Ultrafine dust levels have already climbed into the bad range across most regions, and with the atmosphere staying fairly stagnant, dusty conditions will persist throughout much of the country, except for the east of Gangwon-do province. And this afternoon, Seoul will be getting up to 13 degrees Celsius. Daegu, Daejeon, Gwangju will make it to 15 degrees, with more clouds moving in for the southern provinces. And it looks like rain is expected across much of the country on Wednesday. But aside from that, typical spring weather will continue for the time being, with large temperature swings from morning to night.
That's all we have for this morning. Arirang News will be back at noon Korea time. Thanks for watching.